She's people that disappeared back in 2014 that I helped find. Did I actually find her? No. But I spread the word, spread the picture. I saw her on a missing persons poster. Although I'd interacted with her a couple of times before that, I didn't know her name. She was one of the youngins I tried to run off. One day I found her behind the Boulder Public Library, and she was with another lady who was stripped down to almost nothing, and she was stripped down to almost nothing. It was during the day, and I went and grabbed a guy. Well, this is a strange name. His name is Bug Out. Very small feller. Anyway, when I went over to explain to some of the fellers under the library that there was some youngins over there being inappropriate, well, Bug Out was already over there and already got it taken care of by the time I got it explained. Of course, he's also somebody who grew up in the system, and he's also somebody who is very prone to violence, which I am not. I am prone to having violence done to me. See, a man, when he's being victimized, he shows the same traits that a woman does. You guys don't pay attention to that. Males show the same traits as women when they're abused. The same traits. But women are heard, which forces men to more desperate acts in order to get heard. I know one guy spent 6 years in prison for punching his wife in the face. I remember growing up, a lot of guys that I knew, they'd have black eyes, they'd have broken noses from women hitting them. But it's a guy thing, you know? The guy just has to man up. A man doesn't get beaten by his wife, it's unmanly. This guy that spent 6 years in prison, he punched his wife in the face because she was beating on him and beating on him. He said, you know what? You need to stop hitting me or I'm going to fucking hit you back. He said it took 2 years after he told her that for him to finally do it. I'm like, holy shit. How often does she hit you? Oh, at least twice a week. I'm like, fuck, man. See, the reason she hit you so much is because you gave her the impression it was okay. Problem is, sometimes they ain't gonna let you leave either. Either you be their little control dog, or they're gonna destroy your life. There ain't much in between. We're told as men that we need to just walk away. But we don't get to just walk away. If she had expectations and you did not fulfill them, she's got all sorts of tools at her disposal to destroy your life. Nobody cares if it's true. What they care about is what other people think. You can tell now there's a lot of people that were involved in the situation. They just didn't keep their words. And they didn't come forward about the abuse. And they certainly never came forward with me. See, that's the problem with the mentally ill tag. You have to go in with the victim. All of these people know that I was trying to turn in evidence, and I was trying to do so safely. Did any of them actually help me to turn in anything safely? No, they didn't. Matter of fact, gave people the impression that they weren't going to help because they never tried to turn it in. Now, there's what the cops say. The cops said that none of these people tried to turn it in. Cops said that none of these people tried. Cops said that I didn't try. They said I didn't try to get help and that people wouldn't help, probably because of the way that I act. No, the way that I acted was because nobody was helping. They were giving me empty promises and wasting my time, wasting my resources. and then wanting to throw shit at me that I can get myself. There's stuff that I can do myself and stuff that I can't. Because of the mentally ill tag, there's a lot of stuff I can't do. There's also things like, when you need to turn in these crimes with me, do you? Now, you already know that the cops aren't going to do their jobs for a homeless person, especially if they're male and especially if they're disabled. They've got too many excuses that they can try to fall back on. And if you don't have friends or family members there to speak up, they will play those fucking games, especially if you're a male, especially if you're homeless, especially if you're disabled. People didn't try to find out what the truth of the situation is, and to this day they still don't. A lot of people got these ideas in their head about the way that it is from, I don't know, TV? They certainly never had to live through it. Now, for me, no matter how much I do alone, it doesn't matter because nobody helps me to actually turn it in. Nobody speaks up about the safety issues that I am actually going through, or the fact that it does affect me so greatly. So if I can find my cane, I haven't gotten out of my car yet this morning because I'm in a shit ton of pain. I'm hoping I'll be able to walk. Oh my God. I feel like ass. Every fucking part of my body hurts. And that's pretty much every day. Sleeping in it doesn't get much better. I had some people telling me I needed to get a cot. That's kind of like when I lived in Chapel and the lady told me, well, you have to get a bed. If you don't have a bed and a mattress, then it means you're not taking care of yourself. Fuck. Where am I even going to set up a cot? You guys got all these great ideas you want to throw at me. You're not there for the reality of the situation. For me, having to go to talk to cops alone, it's about like talking to my friends. They'll just talk over me and tell me I need to get over it. They show their bias, they show their sexism, they show their assumptions, and they show that before I ever got to go to a court date, everything had already been decided because people's bias was already decided. I almost forgot about this place, but I'm glad it's here. Grocery stores, don't it? Oh my God, kombucha. Ugh. Tastes like feet. Excuse me, sir. Do you guys have any of the Monster Java?
I believe that's right up here, sir.
Ah, perfect.
Yeah, right on the top shelf there.
All right, thank you, sir. Great.
Hey, Don, you get a chance? You get a ladder. It should be double stacked on the front.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, yeah. Pushing back and pull that case back. A little more job.
Yes, I will do that.
Back in cast. Yeah, far back in cast. We'll see it on the left side of
Okay,
your
that's
cast.
these.
No, thank you.
Okay.
I hope I'm old enough to buy them.
Nope,
No.
not at all.
Yeah, I figure you ought to be at least 65 before being allowed to imbibe in caffeine.
Right, exactly. So 5:38 today.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Have a great day today.
At least pretend to. Thank you.
Right, exactly. Well, that's the best we can do, right?
Yes, ma'am. You used to sing, you used to sing. Oh, I know. Alright. On my way to the library now. I'm down to about half a tank of gas. I haven't gotten hardly jack shit done. Well, I've gotten a lot done, it's just been a bunch of running around. Find a better way to wipe off the well, I was smart, got water all over my phone. And of course my seatbelt didn't work again. It don't matter that I put on my seatbelt. If I get into an accident, I'll get ejected. My seatbelt won't hold. Go Chevy Canada. Ain't they the ones that fucking goddamn it, get in there and stay. Fuck, that hurts. God damn it. Alright, I went that time. Unfortunately, what many of you tend to forget is the neglect of the youth. When people say, oh, well, the cops don't have to do their job if they don't want to. Well, actually, there's a reason that we have mandated reporter laws. It's because cops thought that, and the law said different. So they had to give it teeth. Unfortunately, the mandated reporter laws are not followed. And there's also no repercussion. There's supposed to be. Here in Oregon, it's a Class A crime. A Class A criminal offense. And up to a $2,000 fine. How many of these mandated reporters are paying attention? It's not that they weren't made aware of Robert Farnsworth, it's that they didn't care. It's not the cops in Chapel, Nebraska were not aware of Christopher Kurth or Robert Franklin Warnick. They just simply didn't care. I got me an addiction to coffee. I don't like the flavor of it, which is why I sugar and creamer the hell out of it. They got a Starbucks and a Safeway. I hate coming up here. There's one more person I was hoping to run into that works here that is a witness to a couple of the situations. Life happens, right? All right. And as we all know, I always have connection issues here. You guys can see the difference between the way that women are treated when they play victim versus a man when he is victimized. A man who is victimized is told he just needs to ignore it. He just needs to move away. He just needs to move elsewhere. He just needs to move on. He just needs to move along. It's all the man's fault. People just assume that it's the man's fault. It's because we're taught that it's the man's fault. When it comes to child abuse, how many of the people on my channel, how many of these people that I yell at and scream at have gotten on and talked about how their mother was their abuser? Their mother. Most of the time, your mother, between parents, your mother is the most likely to physically abuse you. She is also the most likely to kill you. So, when you ask yourself why the courts would ever possibly allow a man custody of his children, well, to begin with, because he is less likely to murder them. Yeah. We taught a lot of American women they were little fairy princesses, and they're supposed to be a Prince Charming to show up and wipe their backside for the rest of their lives. And you know what? I know women who don't have men to wipe their backside who do just fine. And also don't go out of their way to destroy men's lives. Probably should listen to music before coming in and thinking it. I'm doing. I need glasses, I guess. Or I need to stop acting like a 5-year-old and talking on my phone. Costly business. A lot of money every month. I'm not really shopping there anymore, and I do spend a lot of money there. Those food trucks, and of course, my distillery. Excuse me, ma'am. But I'm not allowed to set
If you have your truck
a
card,
lot of people don't.
if you have your truck card, please scan it now. Enter phone number. Your card has been accepted. How many stores provided bags can you use?
Yeah.
And your savings is 20%. Please select your payment. Please wait. With your card, follow the instructions on the payment card.
Yeah. Oh, you filled it out and he'll just sign it, bring it to me? Yeah.
That's one of the things about not having a fridge, not having I can't even tell you what about what it is that I get. If I get anything that's highly perishable or something that's going to potentially fall in between my seats, behind my seats, or in between all the various crap that I have in there, yeah, there's a potential for it stinking. So if it's something like that, I tend not to buy it because I don't want to smell that in my vehicle, especially if I can't get everything cleared out of it, dig out whatever it is that's stinking. Dead meat stinks. Once it starts rotting, it's not a pleasant smell. Alright. Obviously, the situation with Molly going unresolved and people not having time. It really doesn't take much time at all to open your fucking mouth and speak. Not much time at all. When there's a child being abused in front of you, it doesn't take much at all to be the difference. Then again, what are we supposed to do when cops are just gonna take the side of the predators? If you're a child and your predators are your parents, they can pull shit like they did in this very parking lot here just a few months ago. That should never be allowed or okay or acceptable. That officer straight up assaulted a 14-year-old girl in front of me and others. and got away with it. Rather than her being able to turn in her abuser obviously is friends with people in this town, has been here a while. That little girl's friends were even trying to tell the police about the abuse. They straight didn't give a fuck. But why would they? Especially after assaulting her. I don't even know the girl's name. But I got the recordings of them conspiring to have her locked up on suicide watch for trying to tell on her fucking predator. You wonder why it is that I don't trust anybody? It's because you're all fucking serpents. My mother's a serpent. She's always wanting to... When she wants to ignore the law, she starts talking about how people are serpents and people are snakes and people are dragons. And like, Mom, I listen to schizophrenics telling me about how they're friends with the Greys, but the lizard people are evil. And then they start going into the different colors of the lizard people aliens. Like, fuck. It don't sound any different with my mom doing the whole, you're a serpent, you're a snake. My mother also has a severe hatred for men because men are perverts. But then my mother is got the sex drive. Well, I don't know what kind of sex drive she has now. Hopefully she's done with it. I know she can't have kids anymore, which is a good thing. Now I'm across the street from the library. I try to stay out of town because it's a lot easier to run into my predators here than it is out there, Fred Meyer's and Tillamook Sporting Goods. You say stay away from my predators, so I get as far away from them as I can, given my resources and my abilities. But I can't just move every time somebody fucking victimizes me. People need to know that it's not fucking okay, and the impression that they have is that it is, because it is. Homeless people don't matter. Males don't matter. If you're a heterosexual, which seems to me the LGBT community wants to peg me as a heterosexual. And then heterosexuals want to peg me as a homosexual. Like, man, you know, I think it's okay for you to be either or. I don't care if you're gay or straight. I care about how you throw it in my face and pretend like I'm a bad person for existing over it. That's stupid. There's lots of people who do very bad things every single day, and you're pissed off about a fucking word. Kind of like Lana Ingline wanted to fucking yell at me every time I used the fact that I was victimized, explaining how I was victimized. Oh, you're calling yourself a victim. You choose to be victimized. Somebody who doesn't choose to be victimized calls himself a survivor. Oh my God, you fucking twat-ass nut job. Or would it be a nut-ass twat job? I'm not sure in this particular scenario. A lot of people don't get my sarcasm. There's a lot of people who want to get sarcastic with me and then pretend like I'm too retarded to understand their sarcasm. No, I get it, but sometimes you guys hit it right on the nail. You're being sarcastic. You don't realize that you're being well, you do realize you're being condescending and sarcastic. But sometimes your sarcasm is actually right. Like, oh, like people were threatening you. Well, they were. Still are, by the way. Now, then you guys want to pretend that because it's not happening right this moment, that means that it doesn't happen and never happens. Mandy Singer, we're not friends, but her words are on my Facebook. They're on my YouTube. She is somebody that I care very much about, and I want to know that she's safe. Do I go driving 1,700 miles to go see if Mandy is safe? No, that's pretty easily done with a telephone call. Yes, I do still have her number, and no, I'm not going to call her. There are safety issues there for her. When it comes to the prostitution out here, a lot of it is forced. There's also a lot of women out here that you talk about what a hussy they are because they use that part of their anatomy in order to move in with somebody and then mooch off of them. But then again, if you've never lived out on the streets, you don't know how horrible it really is. Yeah, you do desperate shit to not be out here. You might move in with a guy that you find dog ugly that's 25 years older than you because he's already got everything set up. He's got a house, and you're pregnant and got a kid on the way. Between being raped in Boulder, Colorado as a homeless woman 2 to 3 times a month. Or, what's the way they put it? How did Lana Christensen put it? That's the real question. I think she put it the best, but I'm just having problems remembering her words. She said it's not always rape. Most of the time it's coerced, and you're just too scared to do anything about it. Was Lana Christensen talking about her being raped? No, she was talking about another woman down there. Another woman down there. And it's kind of well, you just need to think of it differently. Obviously, the cops aren't going to help you if you're raped. So just think of it as when it's done, it's done. Just let it happen. Once it's finished, he'll go away. He'll also get the impression that that's okay and he's going to get away with it next time. And he'll keep on doing it until he doesn't get away. You notice how my freakouts are during very specifically, well, very fucked up situations. Like, of course, when I got the housing there in Chapel, finally. And I was in Chapel, and the lady who was in charge of that was getting in trouble, and she was even on the Omaha News. Omaha, that's the capital of Nebraska. Or maybe Lincoln is, I don't know, I don't care. I know the Capitol building is in Lincoln. I know that because I could see it from my prison cell. How many people do you know who have been to prison without being convicted and then let go because there's literally zero evidence against them? They worked together to prevent me from going to my civil or criminal court dates. Meanwhile, none of those situations needed to happen. The problem is that all of America is sexist. All of it. When women say that they'll help a man, how do they mean? We've gotten to hear people like Sarah Bacon talking about how her family was threatened. And Aaron Cockerham talking about how her family was threatened. Aaron Cockerham's family was threatened by Carl Rogers. Carl Rogers' family was threatened by Aaron Cockerham. They lived in the same county in Florida. So they're bullshit. These are people who are claiming to be friends. People who are claiming that they're going to help. Each of them having evidence. And of course, each of them telling me if I talk to the other one or am friends with the other one, then they're going to block me and not be friends with me. This is fucking child drama. I don't need the fucking drama. I need the fucking evidence. I don't give a shit about your fucking drama. I need the evidence. Once you start telling me that people are threatening to kill your kids, you're playing severe fucking head games with me, and it's not okay. Obviously, the things that I said that these assholes want to pretend is schizophrenic, these things actually happened. But these people weren't actually helping. They weren't coming forward with this to the public. They weren't coming forward with this to the cops. There's guys like me out there that when women had problems, they'd come to me. When men had problems, they'd come to me. And then there was base. Let me tell you what base is, and I'm going to give you 2 stories about it. When I was in Huntington Beach, I was what was called a dirtbag. I was in junior high school, Ethel Dwyer Junior Oilers. And in that school, there were not nearly as many black kids as in the places that I had grown up in. There weren't as many Hispanic kids as many of the places I grew up in. But it was still primarily, well, a minority school. Back in the 90s, you guys might have called us emo. It wasn't emo at all. We'd get the rings. We'd go down to this store in Huntington Beach, and we'd get these rings. And it'd be skulls. And they'd have like a cigarette hanging out of their mouth or stuff like that, stuff that was jagged. The reason for that is because there's a whole bunch of little Hispanic gang members got nothing better to do with their time than to follow white kids home and beat them up. So there was a kid named Martin Young. He was older than us, and he was in high school. My older brother remembers Martin Young. A lot of people thought my older brother was Martin Young. They looked very similar. Well, there was a police annex there. And in the corner, there was a fence, and on the other side of the fence was a little open corner park with a table and a tree and garbage can. And, of course, a lot of them Hispanic kids, they wanted to beat you up on the way home. They didn't want to get an ass whooping when they got home late. But if you could make it to base without getting beaten up at the police annex pocket park, then Martin Young was there and a few other dirtbags, people who wore, you know, like the Metallica shirts, wore the rings on their fingers, rockers. Some of you who were alive in the 90s in Washington State, some of you who were born in the 80s or earlier, who were in the 90s in Washington State, especially the early 90s, you remember the rock rap wars. You remember people getting shot over music. That did come down, at least as far as Portland, and a little bit in California. But not to the same degree and not to the same level. Obviously, I got a lot of anxiety and I got to try to get myself moving. But I also have to pay attention to the fact that the library is one of the easiest places to get kicked out of, especially when you talk about certain things. Now, if you are able to get a room, that's nice. For me, I'm hoping I'll be able to get one because I really need one today. With Mr. Scudder, I can make the calls, but I got to make sure somebody's going to be here with me, and the cops will start getting an attitude if Mr. Scudder is late, which he's been every time. You notice that I don't beat on him or fucking start smacking him with blunt objects or threatening to kill him or anything nutty like that. I just have to accept it. He said if I call the cops and have them meet me down there, then the problem is that if I make the call and the cops show up there and Mr. Scudder is late, that's going to be a pain in my ass. If I have to call them alone, I'm more likely to catch some lip out of them bastards. That's a problem. Without a friend or family member to speak up, or one of these witnesses speaking up, my predators get to sell whatever narrative they want, regardless of what evidence is on YouTube or Facebook. Shit, I got Mr. Scudder was talking about shooting people. Even Jared, the peaceful giant, talking about beating people to death even. No, he's not claiming that he did that. He's saying that he would, though. I understand the sentiments, but I'm not allowed to say that or I get locked up. You can say that. You can say it live on YouTube and nobody fucking cares. If people threaten me and assault me and harm me repeatedly, vandalize my things, vandalize my vehicle, vandalize the parking lot, and then I'm victimized because I'm the one with the penis, that's fucked. There's all those witnesses that know that I'm the fucking victim in that situation, but they didn't come forward. Rob didn't bother to find out who was right or wrong in that situation. He just victimized me. And then this situation the other day with Vicky Raines bullshit. The cops blew me off. Rob blew me off. Both of them wanted to treat me like I had done something wrong. And the officer wasn't going to do anything about the actual crimes committed against me until when? In a couple hours. It was either I have my stuff moved or he's going to come back in a couple hours. And then maybe in a couple hours he'll take my report. But he knows that I can't go back there in a couple hours for him to take my report. Just like Trent Olson didn't take my report. I talked to him. I let him know what was going on. He wrote down my name, a couple other short things, and then put his notepad back in his pocket. Didn't care about any of the fucking victimization I was going through. I still tried to tell him, but he wasn't going to hear it. He was going to make excuses no matter what. Just like Danelle Boggs. Just like TFCC. Just like CARE. Just like Tides of Change. There's their pretty words, but then there's the bullshit that they pull. And the bias that they show. Oh, a male could never possibly be victimized. Bullshit. Also, these people have been explained that this is a very complicated situation. I need to be able to sit down in a safe place with my evidence. A safe place to make phone calls, not stuck in public. When people tell me to go to the library, let me tell you something. Probably close to 100 people, right after Natalie died, wanted to tell me I should go to the library when I'd already been to the library. I'd been assaulted at the library. I'd had my life threatened at the library. I also had a couple of people that come up to me and talk to me in a supportive way. Yes, they talked to me in a supportive way, but they didn't ever actually do anything about the abuse. I'm sorry doesn't stop abuse. It just shows that you're pathetic. Like these officers here. Pathetic. Danelle Boggs knew that the bullshit that she was saying was untrue. She knew that she was outright lying to me, and she knows that they get money every time I go in there. Now, I've tried to turn these places in because they're not doing their jobs as mandated reporters. They're not going to do their jobs as mandated reporters unless someone ever actually pushes. Hey, this is fucked up. Instead of telling me that it's fucked up, all these people saying, Sean, it's fucked up. I'm sorry you're going through that. Fuck your sorries. Speak up. You see it happening. Speak up. If you were good people, I wouldn't have to beg. If you were friends, I wouldn't have to beg. There's a saying that I like very much. Loyalty above all else except honor. Through this, I've gotten to see what my friends are loyal to. Drugs, alcohol, reputation. There is no sense of right or wrong within any of them. Only self-preservation, which is a very, very dark mark on our great and wonderful society, where every American is supposedly a millionaire with a 2-car garage and a mansion and a yacht. You don't realize there are still people living in third world conditions who are being forced to do first world things without any of the required resources to do so. How can I possibly do the things that are asked of me without the resources to do as asked? These people ignore my physical disabilities. They ignore my mental disabilities. And the only time that they'll ever pretend to care is when they're trying to cover for one of their friends. We've also got what's called professional courtesy. This is where a police officer can lie to a or another police officer. And they just go along with it because another officer said so. There's another type of professional courtesy. This is where you, as a police officer, are drinking and driving. You're pulled over by a police officer for driving erratically. He realizes that you're a police officer who's drunk and you're only 2 blocks from your house and lets you drive home. What he should be doing is giving you a DUI. Then, of course, Garden County has a sheriff who has been convicted of domestic violence. Convicted. That's right. And what are you guys doing about it? What are you doing to stop it? You're blaming men, even male victims. This is extreme sexism. Now, there have been women who have proposed that there should be a curfew for men because they want to be able to go out jogging without having to fear men. You know what? All homeless men have to fear you jogging because you, Karens, will bitch because we exist. Where are we supposed to go during your fucking curfew? 4,000 homeless people in Boulder, Colorado. The majority of them, Boulder County, Colorado. The majority of them being male. There are less than 122 beds for males in Boulder County. What are you going to do with the approximately 4,000 people who are homeless and male on your curfew? You already won't let them sleep. It's trespassing on public property. You won't let them use a blanket because it's camping on public property. You try to force them up to the mountains, and then the rangers try to force you back down. There's somebody there calling themselves Lawrence Albert Connor and types, "Why do you keep ignoring me?" I don't know who Lawrence Albert Connors is. So, what we're going to do is ignore this guy. He accused me of ignoring you, we'll ignore you. The fact that I was never allowed to face my accusers, never allowed to show evidence in court, never allowed to make a police report, it's not that I didn't try. It's that I always had to go in alone. Always. When somebody did actually go in with me, it wasn't until after Natalie had been dead for 6 months that anyone actually made any effort to go in with me to talk to the cops. What did that result in? That resulted in me being assaulted, taken to a hospital by the very officers I was trying to turn in, and drugged. Because of professional courtesy. The cop says it, so it must be true. Now, you got to kind of look at it from the hospital worker's point of view. Usually, when you get the cops bringing in somebody who's schizophrenic, and they're telling you this person is schizophrenic, they've had a situation with this person who is schizophrenic. They also have been in contact with this person's family, so they're aware that this person is schizophrenic. So when they come into the hospital and say, "Hey, this person is schizophrenic," the hospital just writes it down. But then there's when you have to turn them in, and they're able to do the same thing to you to prevent you from turning them in. Allowed to use the suicide thing to deny the victim all of their rights. People don't commit suicide over abuse, they commit suicide over neglect. When you realize that there is no hope of ever stopping it, that nobody is going to care, no matter how much people hurt you, nobody cares. They'll say they care and then look the other way for literally years, and then treat you like you're a bad person because they were cowards. Wink, wink. It looks like Mr. Lawrence Albert Connor retracted a message. Don't know what it said. Just got a screenshot, though, that he retracted the message. Now, I've had people that have been harassing me for literally years, And they try to go through my videos and try to piece together my phone number so they can harass me. And they do so. But what am I to do? Go to the cops? They're not going to do shit. Go to mental health? They're not going to do shit. They get paid for doing nothing. They get paid to victimize us by not doing their jobs, by playing stupid. Go to this place, go to that place. You get run around in circles and you end up right back where you fucking started. For them to treat you like you're shit for going back there because you were told to. Fuck the United States and everyone in it. Now, Lawrence Albert Connor, do you want to be blocked from my channel? If you want to be a troll, I can block you. I can do that on the internet. I can't do that in real life. If you come and harass me and put your nasty cockbeaters on me in real life, my options are a lot more limited. At that point, you're putting your nasty cockbeaters on me without my permission, and that is never okay. Ever. Looks like Lawrence Albert Connor, who we're ignoring, wink, wink, doesn't have much to say. And I created this YouTube channel to help protect the victims, even male victims. The people most likely to kill their own kids aren't men, it's women. Women are far more likely to kill their own children than men. We talk about how men are more likely to kill their wives. No, they're not. Women are more likely to convince somebody else to do it. Women are more likely to kill their husbands through poisoning. And that includes doctors. We had a doctor just within the last few days got in trouble for poisoning her husband. Only a couple of days after a long-standing situation in Washington State with a doctor who poisoned her husband. We've also got women walking into schools and shooting people up, and you want to pretend like this is an exception to the rule. Only the fact that it used a firearm is an exception to your rule. But we get to see more prevalently that yes, women are very much engaging in wholesale slaughter of men, destruction of men's lives. You want to say don't live in the past, and then you want to use, well, I didn't do it to you as an excuse for things that literally happened to me in my lifetime. You want to say, well, I didn't do it, but then you want to blame me for things that did not happen in my lifetime, things that were not committed by me, things that I did not do. You're the ones living in the past. Every black person who wants to bitch at me about slavery is living in the past. Every woman bitching at me about the right to vote is living in the past. How many of these women were even alive when women did not have the right to vote? Any of them? Not likely. So their excuse is that they didn't do it. Meanwhile, they blame me because I have a penis for things that happened before I was born, and then they tell me not to live in the past. My dad does this too. He doesn't stop to realize the repercussions of him choosing cocaine and profits over his own children resulted in his children being raped in the system, being beaten for the color of their skin, being drugged in quantities that are unsafe for adults. And they do so with no protection. When I was abused in the system, neither of my parents were there to do anything. When that 14-year-old boy was abused in Clearview, his father gave a shit. What's the difference between Brian David Schwartz and that young man's father? That young man's father gave a shit. Dana Jepson, one of his kids was in Clearview too. He spoke to me about it, and she did just a little bit. Not a lot, but enough that I knew she was there. Dana Jeffson knew that his daughter was abused there, but he never came forward. Then again, why would he? What was he charged with? He was a school administrator charged with inappropriate interaction with students. Here in Tillamook, we had a teacher that was arrested before I got here. We're doing what? Having sex with children. Children. Same thing that Robert Franklin Warnick is on a 25-year sex offender registry for. It might be over this year. That's scary for all of you. He'll be taken off that list, and he'll get to do whatever he wants to your children or his own. While the police do nothing. While the police victimize the victims and refuse to listen to them or investigate any of the crimes against them. Where the male is victimized just because he's a male, and they have shown this bias here. Not just the sheriff's department, not just the police department, not just TFCC, not just Tillamook Adventist Health. These people, rather than doing their jobs, are giving each other professional courtesy, and they're doing so feloniously. Fuck this country and everyone in it.